Alright, I want to make a video on the carbs on the KZ1300. I was a little confused by this step. Maybe this will help somebody else. When you're cleaning these are your main jets. There's one for each cylinder. It's effectively two little small carburetors in one. So this is actually for cylinder 1. This is for cylinder 2. To really get at the get into the carb and clean it, you need to remove these two jets. There's a notch in there, which is hard to see. There you go. There's a notch in there to fit a flathead screwdriver. Be sure and use a good one. Get a good bite on that so you don't strip it out. Once this is removed, we'll come back and I'll show you what we do next. That was the confusing part for me. Alright, so once you remove those main jets, this is what you're going to be looking at. There's a washer here. It's really hard to see because these are so gummed up, but there is a flat washer here that we need to remove. These are probably going to be stuck in there, so I'm going to put the camera down. I'll try this one first. Yeah, that one's stuck. And that one's stuck. So I'm going to put the camera down and come back, but we need to remove those two washers. Okay, so I've got those two washers removed. They just come out the top there. And you'll notice I'm only working on one carburetor at a time. I like to do that so I keep all the parts straight. I don't have a bunch of stuff floating around, all over the shop. All right, now, the next step is to remove the emulsion tubes. That's what's sitting down in there that's all gummed up on mine. In order to do this, you first must remove the sliders, okay? Those are over here on the top of the carburetor. You take those 4 screws off at the top, pull the diaphragm and the slides straight out and up, and they come out. Again, if you try and do this with the slides in, you're going to bend the needles. It's not going to be good, okay? So once you've taken the slides out, if you're lucky, these will just drop right out. Every one of mine has been so gummed up that I need to tap them out. I'm using a little piece of plastic vacuum joiner or something. Don't use anything metal because these are brass and it will mar them very easily. And if you notice, if you look real close, at the very bottom of this emulsion tube, you notice that there's a notch and that there is a small little pin there that's for alignment, okay? You don't want to hammer on the pin when we're taking these out. We want to be sure and tap on the actual emulsion tube right there. So again, I need 2 hands to do this. I'll get this one started and come back to the video. Okay, so I've been tapping this one out. I'm about halfway out. You see that the emulsion tube has slid down the jet tower there. We've not damaged our pin, which is sitting right there. And if we look into the venturi of the carburetor, we'll see that emulsion tube hanging out a little bit. See how it's coming out there? Contrast that with the one over here, which is still flush, and that one's proud. So just keep tapping this out, and all this is going to do, it's going to drop straight down into the area where the slides were. So just keep working on that. It'll come out, and then we can clean that. All right, so we tapped on that, and as you can see, maybe if I get the light just right, there we go. The emulsion tube is completely out. Here it's completely in. There it's all the way out, and you can hear it rattling around in here. And if I take the screw off, drop this diaphragm cover open, there it is right there. So this is what we're trying to get at to clean the emulsion tube. And if you look, you can see light coming through all 4 of those little holes. Turn it 90 degrees, see light coming through all 4 of those holes. One is a slight blockage, but we can clean that up. So we'll clean this real good with carb cleaner. We'll clean the bore that it sits in down in there with carb cleaner, and then we'll just drop this right back in. Now, when you go to install this, remember as you're installing it to line this notch up with the guide pin that's on the bottom. Remember to install it the right way around. It just won't go in the wrong way. And finally, when you're putting these back in, they should just drop right in or barely have to be pressed in with your finger or something. You should not have to tap these in with a punch or anything like we had to take them out. They're stuck in there because of the gum. We're going to clean it up, put it back in, and it should drop right back in. So that's how to get to the emulsion tubes on a KZ1300 carburetor. All right, here's another thing. This was pointed out in the walkthrough that's on KZ1300 forum. It's kind of hard to describe without actually having everything in front of you. So the slow jet, or the idle jet, whatever you want to call it, is down in this hole. And if I get my light just right, you might be able to see. Yep. See how there's a flat head on there? Okay. If you put like a sharp flathead down in there, like a regular blade, like this, I think this is a 3.5mm flathead, it may come out, or you may strip those kind of delicate brass wings. What the guy on the forum suggested is to take a junk little screwdriver like this and file the tip down so that it's kind of got a fatter profile. See how that it doesn't come down to a sharp point like a normal flathead does. Let's see if we can get this to focus. Oh, there we go. See how it's much sharper than this one? That's because this is supposed to take up the whole width of that slot inside the slow jet. That way you don't round it off. I work in low voltage, so I have a ton of these little kind of chintzy, cheapo screwdrivers laying around. But yeah, it's I can't really give you exact specifications. I mean, I guess I could, but I'm not going to measure it. But yeah, you'll file it, and you'll feel it when it drops into the slot here. There is no, notice as I'm turning this left and right, there really is no left and right play. It sits very firmly in that slot. Whereas if I take my standard blade and drop down in there, you see how there's quite a bit of play back and forth in the screwdriver? That's what you don't want to see when you go to take that slow jet out. You want something that engages those slots really well. What I'm talking about with the slow jet, so if I put my screwdriver in, you see how, and I guess I actually filed that a little bit off, but see how it takes up all the space there? Come around here, see how it sits nice and deep down in there? You can actually give this a little tap with a hammer to seat it. This is the regular screwdriver blade. See how it has play back and forth in there? That's what you don't want. So that's what you're looking to do when it talks about modifying a screwdriver to fit the slow jet. Unfortunately, the only way to really know if you've got it right is to remove one without fucking it up. So that's neat. But yeah, be careful with that, and as long as you've got a good tool like this, you shouldn't screw these up. Alright, last little video on these carbs. So the problem with cleaning these is a passage that goes from the jet tower through here, down this little tube to the slow jet. Okay, you can sort of see that hole right in there, right there. That's what feeds that passage. And you can see these brass plugs where they bored through to drill this passage in the carb. The other, excuse me, the other 4, I have not messed with this one yet. 3 of the other 4 were clear. 1 was clogged. I was able to clear it with some compressed air. This one is not wanting to clear, so this is my battle on this last carburetor here. You will probably encounter something similar. So I will hit the forum, see what I can find out. I've already tried to get a little tiny wire in there, but it can't turn this corner to go downhill there. So yeah, I'll see what I find out. Sprayed it down with carb cleaner good. I really don't want to split these carbs off of the rack, but I might have to. Hopefully I can get it clear without doing that, but I guess we'll see. Alright, thanks for watching. Alright, one last little thing before I wrap this up. The only other thing that I haven't talked about is this tube, which you just blow some air or cleaner through to make sure it runs free. I guess you might be able to take it out. There's really no need to. The other thing is the needle and seat here. See this little clip is what keeps the needle from falling out. You can just very easily grab this with a pair of tweezers, kind of push it back this way and it'll pop right off, and then you can pull your needle out. If you want to remove the seat, you remove this screw here and then take a 1/4" thread nylon bolt, which like an Ace Hardware or Lowe's will have. Then you can thread that into the seat and lever it out with a pair of vice grips from over here. I have not found that I need to remove the seat. I can get the cleaner down in there and verify that it's got a good seal without doing that. But if you did want to remove the seat, that's how you would take it out. There are instructions in the walkthrough, and again, I'll link that in the video description below. So give that a look over if you're diving into a set of these carbs.